Year-old Milwaukee woman came to a violent end. CBS 58's Michelle Fiore sat down with the victim's parents today, and she joins us now live in the studio.
Two men face charges, but the criminal complaint points to lies others told, and for that, Kenia Brunson's mom is pressing ahead. Kenia Brunson turned 20 in June, a joy to be around.
She can make you smile right away.
Brunson wanted to be an orthodontist or a vet, later learning she was good at making others look good, so she enrolled in beauty school.
She actually taught me how to put on eyelashes and do my eyebrows.
This is Brunson leaving home the morning of September 24th, texting her mom a smiley.
I wasn't even there 30 minutes and they called and told me her car was found. And I knew then, at that point, like something happened to her.
The day of the murder, police say Brunson met up with a married man she'd been seeing, Sultan Sharif. Strangely, he'd reached out to Brunson's mom a week earlier.
He goes on to say, I want to be done messing with your daughter, but she's reaching out to my wife.
September 24th, a friend of Sharif's called 911 after he says he saw Sharif on top of the victim in Sharif's car and that the female stated, "He cut my throat." She was screaming and pleading for help. Police didn't locate the two then, but hours later were called to an alley near Keefe and Palmer where Brunson had been tied, shot, and then set on fire.
She was everything to me. She was everything, and this is the most hurtful feeling.
Police interviewed a number of people, including Sharif's wife, who claimed he'd been with her the night of the murder, which the complaint says was debunked through video evidence.
And they think that they're gonna be out here and live their normal life.
Now listen, we've all heard the warnings about older men who prey on young women, but Kenia Brunson's story. This one hit different. She was 20, beautiful, had her whole future mapped out, beauty school, nursing, helping people, that was her heart. But she was keeping a secret that was about to cost her everything. September 24th, 2022. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A young woman sends her mama a smiley face emoji and walks out the door never knowing she'd never come back home. By that evening, her car would be found abandoned. By nightfall, her body would be discovered in an alley, tied up, shot, and set on fire. The man responsible? Not some random predator lurking in the shadows. This was somebody she trusted, somebody she thought cared about her. A married man in his 50s who had been living a double life for years, and when that double life got threatened, he chose murder over accountability. This is the story of Kenia Brunson, a daughter, a sister, a young woman with dreams as bright as her smile. And this is how betrayal, secrecy, and cowardice led to one of Milwaukee's most heartbreaking cases.
You're watching Shadow Crimes TV, where we bring true crime and domestic violence stories out of the shadows. Subscribe now and join us daily as we uncover the cases that demand to be heard. Don't just watch, be part of the conversation.
Kenia Brunson was only 20 years old, but she carried herself with the kind of energy that made everyone believe she was destined for something special. Like, this girl had plans, y'all. Big dreams that kept changing as she figured out who she wanted to become. At first, she was thinking orthodontist, fixing people's smiles, making them feel confident. Then maybe veterinarian, because she had this soft spot for animals. But over time, Kanaya discovered something about herself. She had this natural gift for making people look good, feel beautiful. So she switched gears and enrolled in cosmetology school. And let me tell you, she was good at it too. Her friends would talk about how she'd teach them to do their eyebrows just right, or show them the tricks for applying eyelashes. Little things that seemed small but made people feel amazing about themselves. That was Kania's heart right there. Always wanting to help, always wanting to lift people up. But her dreams didn't stop at beauty school. Girl, she was also planning to become a certified nursing assistant. She wanted to combine that caring nature with real skills to help and heal people. This wasn't just career planning. This was a young woman building a life where she could serve others every single day. Her family, they absolutely adored her. Her mother, Jennifer, would later say through tears, "I would have never thought that I would be burying my daughter before she buried me." Her stepfather remembered how her laughter could brighten even the hardest days. Her father admired that determination she had, that drive to go after what she wanted. And her grandmother described her as vibrant, magnetic, the type of person you just couldn't forget once you met her.
To everyone who knew Kenia, she was more than family or friends. She was light, pure light. The kind of person who walked into a room and immediately made it better just by being there. Her smile was infectious, her kindness was real, and her love ran deep. Whether it was her ambition, her generosity, or just that warm energy she carried, Kenia left an impression that stayed with you. But behind all those bright dreams and that beautiful smile, Kenia was carrying something heavy, a secret that very few people knew about. A secret that would eventually destroy everything she was building toward. The secret had a name, Sultan Sharif. He was in his early 50s, more than twice her age. He was married. He had responsibilities, a whole other life that had nothing to do with her. But somehow their paths had crossed when she was still a teenager, and what started as attention and validation had grown into something much more complicated. For Kenia, this probably felt like a real connection. Maybe she thought she was special to him. Maybe she believed he really cared. But let's keep it real. This was never balanced. He had decades of life experience over her. He had power, control, and the ability to keep everything hidden. She had youth, hope, and that vulnerability that comes with being young and thinking you know more than you do. To the outside world, Sultan looked like a regular married man living his regular life. But with Kenia, he was living something completely different. And that double life, that's where things started getting dangerous. Because secrets like that don't stay buried forever. And when young women start demanding to be treated with respect instead of being hidden away, that's when men like Sultan show you exactly who they really are. Moving on to what happened next. Now here's where things get real messy, real quick. Just a week before Kenia's murder, Sultan did something that should have been a red flag to everyone involved. This man actually picked up the phone and called Kenia's mother. Like, make it make sense. You've been sneaking around with this woman's daughter for years, and now you're calling her directly. But listen to what he told her mama. He said he wanted to be done messing with Kenia, that he didn't want to see her anymore. But here's the kicker. His reason wasn't guilt or maturity or finally doing the right thing. Nah, he was scared because Kenia had started reaching out to his wife. Y'all, let that sink in. Kenia had gotten tired of being somebody's secret. She was done being hidden away, like she was something to be ashamed of. So she did what any woman with self-respect would do. She reached out to his wife. She brought the truth into the light, and that terrified him. See, when you're living a double life, control is everything. Sultan had been managing this situation for years, keeping Kenia in one box, his wife in another, making sure those two worlds never touched. But Kenia shattered that control when she decided she deserved better than being kept in the shadows. For her, reaching out to his wife probably felt empowering, like finally standing up for herself, demanding to be treated with respect. But for Sultan, this was his worst nightmare coming true. His secret was out, his wife knew, his carefully constructed lies were crumbling. And instead of doing what any decent human being would do, taking responsibility, dealing with the consequences, maybe even getting some help, Sultan started planning something much darker. The tension between them was building every day after that phone call. Kenia wasn't backing down, and Sultan was getting more desperate. You could feel it coming, that moment when his fear would turn into rage, when he'd stop seeing her as a person and start seeing her as a problem that needed to be eliminated. September 24th, 2022 started out like any normal day for Kenia Brunson. She got up, got ready, and before leaving home that morning, she sent her mama a text message, just a simple smiley face emoji.
A little gesture that said everything was good, that she was happy, that she'd see her family later. But Kenia wouldn't be coming home that day. She was going to meet Sultan Sharif. Maybe she thought they were going to talk things through. Maybe she believed he was ready to finally handle this situation like an adult. Whatever she was thinking, she trusted him enough to get in that car with him. What happened next would haunt everyone who heard about it. A friend of Sultan's was nearby when he witnessed something that made his blood run cold. From where he was standing, he could see inside Sultan's car, and what he saw was Sultan on top of Kenia. But this wasn't some romantic encounter. This was violence. Kenia was screaming, desperately screaming for help, and in those screams she managed to get out words that would stay with that witness forever.
He cut my throat.
The friend immediately called
911.
frantic about what he had just seen. A young woman was in serious danger, possibly dying, and he was trying to get help to her as fast as possible. But when the police arrived in the area, they couldn't locate Sultan's car. Kenia was gone. That chance to save her had slipped away. Hours passed, the sun went down, and then came the call that would destroy a family forever. In an alley near Keefe Avenue and Palmer Street, Kenia's body was discovered. But y'all, what had been done to her was beyond comprehension. This wasn't just a murder, this was pure cruelty. Kenia had been tied up, she had been shot, and then in what can only be described as an attempt to erase all evidence of his crime, Sultan had set her body on fire. Let me say that again because I need y'all to understand the level of evil we're dealing with here. After murdering this young woman, this man tried to burn away any trace of what he had done to her. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't some accident that got out of hand. This was calculated cruelty, designed to silence Kenia forever and destroy any evidence that could lead back to him. In one single day, a 20-year-old woman with dreams of helping others, with plans for her future, with a family that adored her, was erased from this world, all because she had the audacity to demand respect, all because she refused to stay hidden, all because she threatened the lies a cowardly man had built his life on. The bright light that was Kenia Brunson had been extinguished, leaving behind only ashes, unanswered questions, and a family whose world would never be the same.
Well, we continue to follow some breaking news this morning. Milwaukee police investigating what they call a suspicious death. Now, it happened around 10:40 at Palmer and Keefe in the Harambe neighborhood. The medical examiner confirms one person is dead.
Now, when the police started investigating Kenia's murder, they quickly realized they were dealing with a web of lies that was about to unravel real fast. And let me tell you, Sultan Sharif thought he was slick, but he wasn't nearly as smart as he believed. Detectives started with the people closest to Sultan, and right off the bat, his wife tried to give him an alibi. She claimed he had been with her the whole night Kenia was murdered. But here's the thing about lies, they don't hold up when you got cameras everywhere and phone records telling a different story. It didn't take investigators long to pull surveillance footage and check those phone records, and guess what? That alibi his wife gave him, complete nonsense. The video evidence placed him somewhere completely different, exposing her story as nothing more than a desperate attempt to cover for her husband. But that was just the beginning. The more detectives dug, the more lies they uncovered. Lies stacked on top of lies, all designed to protect Sultan from the consequences of what he had done. He tried to present himself as innocent, like he had nothing to do with Kenia's disappearance, but every piece of evidence they collected told a different story. The surveillance footage, the witness testimony, even his own panicked behavior, everything pointed straight back to him.
According to the criminal complaint, Brunson spent the morning of September 24, 2022 with 50-year-old Sultan Sharif. MPD believes Sharif killed her later that day. The complaint says 45-year-old Johnny Hopgood helped Sharif burn Brunson's body. Sharif has not yet been convicted of Brunson's murder.
Remember that friend who called
911.
after seeing Sultan on top of Kenia? His testimony was crucial. Phone records showed exactly where Sultan was and when. The lies were falling apart piece by piece. What investigators found was a pattern of deception that went beyond just Sultan. This wasn't just about one man committing murder. It was about the people around him who were willing to help cover it up. According to the criminal complaint, Sultan wasn't alone in this. His brother-in-law Johnny Allen Hopgood was also pulled into the case. Prosecutors alleged that Hopgood helped Sultan cover up the crime, specifically helping to burn Kenia's body. So now we had two men charged, Sultan with first-degree intentional homicide and mutilating a corpse, and Hopgood with mutilating a corpse and aiding a felon. For detectives, this case was straightforward once they got past all the lies. The evidence spoke louder than any excuse Sultan could come up with. This wasn't a man caught up in some unfortunate coincidence. This was a man caught by his own desperate attempts to cover his tracks. By October 2022, prosecutors had gathered enough evidence to formally charge Sultan Sharif with the most serious crimes possible: first-degree intentional homicide and mutilating a corpse. These weren't just charges, y'all. These were a statement about the brutality of what had been done to Kenia. But before Sultan ever faced a jury, something happened that left Kenia's family feeling like the system had failed them once again. In June 2023, Johnny Allen Hopgood, once the man accused of helping cover up this horrific crime, struck a plea deal. Now listen to this mess. Hopgood had originally been charged with mutilating a corpse and aiding a felon. Serious charges that tied him directly to helping destroy evidence of Kenia's murder. But instead of facing those charges, he pleaded guilty to something completely different: resisting and obstructing an officer. Period. Just like that. For Kenia's family, this plea deal felt like a slap in the face. Their daughter, their sister, their best friend had been tied up, shot, and set on fire. And the man accused of helping to burn her body walked away with a conviction that seemed almost unrelated to the horror of what happened to her.
It was a painful reminder of how uneven justice can be. While Sultan was facing life in prison, the man who allegedly helped him cover up the crime got off with what felt like a slap on the wrist. But then came the moment Kenia's family had been waiting for. December 11, 2023. The day Sultan Sharif finally faced a jury for what he had done. After hearing all the evidence, the witness testimony, the surveillance footage, the phone records, the web of lies, the jury didn't need long to make their decision. They found Sultan Sharif guilty on all counts: first-degree intentional homicide and mutilating a corpse as a party to a crime. Unanimous verdict. On February 21, 2024, the court handed down Sultan's punishment: life in prison plus 12 additional years for the mutilation charge, the harshest penalty possible under Wisconsin law. This man who had once claimed to care about Kenia would never walk free again. For Kenia's family, that guilty verdict was justice, but it wasn't peace. Her mother's words still echo: "She was everything to me." This is the most hurtful feeling. No sentence, no matter how harsh, could bring back their daughter, their sister, their light. In the months after the trial, Kenia's family and community came together to make sure she wouldn't be forgotten. 1 year after her murder, they held a vigil, Linda's balloons floating into the sky, each one carrying prayers, memories, wishes for the peace they were still searching for. Her mother spoke about the pain that never goes away, how every court date, every headline reminded them of the empty space where Kenia should have been.
I just pray I don't never want to let nobody ever feel this type of pain.
Family and friends united by pain, gathering to grieve the loss of 20-year-old Kenia Brunson.
It's terrible that we have to do this. I would have never thought that I would be burying my daughter before she buries me.
Brunson's parents say she could light up a room with her smile. She loved helping others. Her father tells me she just signed up for CNA classes.
She wanted everybody to stay close and wanted a lot of things out of life. She was going for it.
Dreams cut short. All that remains, flowers left by a stranger to Brunson.
It's just terrible that someone could go through that, and then to know that they probably went through it by themselves and not had me or her brother or my husband or anyone that she knew that could be there, you know, at a time like this.
So I wasn't going to stop until I find out who did this to my daughter.
Her case was featured on the podcast No Tears for Black Girls, which highlights how cases involving Black women are often overlooked in true crime storytelling. Because here's the thing, Kenia deserved to be seen, heard, and remembered just like any other victim. Sultan Sharif will spend the rest of his life behind bars, with extra years tacked on for the cruelty of what he did to her body after taking her life. But as her family has said, no sentence can ever bring her back. What Kania's story teaches us is this: behind every statistic about violence against women is a real person, a daughter who made her family laugh, a sister who taught her friends how to do their makeup, a young woman with dreams that mattered, with a future that was stolen from her. This case shows us the deadly consequences when secrecy, power imbalances, and male ego collide. It reminds us that young women deserve protection, respect, and the right to speak their truth without fear of retaliation. Kenia Brunson was 20 years old. She had dreams of helping others, of building a life that mattered. She deserved to see those dreams come true. She deserved to grow old, to achieve everything she was working toward, to keep brightening rooms with that infectious smile. Instead, she became another name on a list that's already too long. Another young Black woman whose life was cut short by a man who couldn't handle being held accountable for his actions. But her story doesn't end with her death. It lives on in the fight for justice, in the demand for protection, in the refusal to let her memory be forgotten. Kenia Brunson mattered. Her life had value, her dreams were valid, and her story deserves to be told, not just as a tragedy, but as a call to do better. That's what we're here for at Shadowed Crimes TV, to make sure these stories get heard, these voices aren't silenced, and justice isn't just a word on paper but a reality we're all fighting for. Because every victim deserves to have their story told, and every family deserves to know their loved one won't be forgotten. Rest in power, Kenia Brunson.